The scout is the heartbeat and pulse of the team. In this video, I'm going to show how good scout players lead their teams to success. Hi guys, I'm Legionless, and this channel is about helping you enjoy your games more. If you want a more enjoyable time in your games, subscribe to the channel and share the video to help someone else enjoy their game more. In this video, I'm going to go over how to play the scout class for those new to Deep Rock Galactic or new to the scout class, how to play the class's role in the team, and how the scout helps the team have more success in missions. The scout class's main responsibility is to support the team inside and outside of combat. When it comes to combat, the scout assists the team more with its tools and less with its weapons. In videos coming next week, I'll have the builds for the scout's weapons that I recommend. The flare gun in the scout's toolkit creates a large, long-lasting light source for the team, which makes spotting enemies significantly easier. It's probably one of the most underutilized items in the scout's kit that so many players don't use as effectively as they should. Similarly to how the engineer class is the sentry turret that is often underused and undervalued, the flare gun is just as undervalued and underused, maybe even more so. Notice that there's not really much for me to kill right now because I've empowered my team to do the killing themselves, and they're doing it really well. In Deep Rock Galactic, most of the enemies are melee enemies, which means they're only lethal when they're up close, and they can only get up close to you when you don't see them coming. I cannot express how frustrating it is to have a scout on your team and be fighting against swarms of enemies and have no idea where they're coming from until they're on top of you because the cave has no light. Something so simple as putting a flare or two in the room you're defending at the end of the mission literally can mean success or failure in so many of the missions I've run. If you're not running low on flare ammo a couple times in the mission, chances are that you're not using the flare gun enough, and if your team is taking a lot of unnecessary damage, chances are the scout needs to use the flare more. It'll be very rock and stone of you to place flares fairly often for your team as the scout. Being able to see more and see farther helps the scout do its second job in supporting the team during combat. Scouting for high priority targets. Ranged enemies like acid and web spitters are important targets for the scout to take down immediately because he's very well equipped to kill them from medium to longer ranges with the scout's two primary weapons, the Deep Core GK2 and M1000 Classic. Pinging and calling out larger, more dangerous enemies is also really important for the scout. Oppressors, Mactera spawns, bulk detonators, and other enemies that can really mess up a team should be pinged as soon as they're seen, so the scout needs to always be scanning and watching the area for things the team needs to be aware of. When it comes to Dreadnought Fights though, scouts should try to take the aggro of the Dreadnought and then lead it away from the team so they all have an easy shot at the Dreadnought's weak point. The scout being the fastest class and most adaptable class is able to survive very easily with a giant dreadnought on its heels. Lastly, for combat, the scout supports the team really well with its grenades. Admittedly, the IFG grenade that slows down enemies in its area and cryo grenades that flash freeze enemies are probably more useful than the pheromones canister, but all three grenades will help the rest of the team do their jobs and survive during a fight. Choosing which grenade to run will usually come down to personal preference, but what the team is running for builds can also play a part. If the team is running modifications and overclocks that get the most effect when enemies are under the electrocution status effect, you'll want to run the IFG grenade to best support the team. If teams are running weapons or grenades that do some sort of flame damage, you'll want to run the cryo grenade because frozen and burning effects pair very well together. Frozen enemies that get hit by flames or enemies that are burning that get hit with ice get hit with temperature shock, which deals an immediate 200 damage to the enemy. Ultimately, all three grenades are really good at making crowd control easier and give the team some crucial moments to breathe and to recompose themselves if they're struggling with a wave of enemies. When it comes to non-combat, the scout is the pulse, the heartbeat of the team. The scout controls how fast or slow the team progresses through mission objectives, with how easy it can reach out of the way items compared to the rest of the classes, who have to expend some sort of ammo and take longer to do what the scout can do. The first thing every scout should do when the drop pod opens up at the start of a mission is light up the area for the team and start looking for nitra and mission objectives. Good scout players locate mission objectives quickly for the team to collect or for the engineer to place a platform so the scout can safely get them. Good scout players that collect mission objectives and nitro quickly are invaluable to the team, because the longer it takes to get these, the more likely the team is to fail. If the team is waiting a long time for the primary or secondary mission objectives to be completed, they'll eventually run out of resources and be overrun by enemies. Hand in hand with collecting items quickly, the scout uses its flare gun to make traversing farther in the mission easier for the team. Lighting up the cave will reveal cave leeches, hazardous terrain, and deep pits that the team could be blindsided by if the cave is dark. As a scout, it's important to remember that the other classes don't have a grapple that lets them move as quickly or avoid a lot of the hazards in the cave, so lighting up the cave so they can travel safely is very important. The last thing you want is for the driller to drill forward through dirt and off a ledge into a pit and die, and then have someone else die trying to get him to revive him. And the last way the scout can support the team is by surviving, whether that means getting revives or cutting the losses and escaping in the drop pod to save the mission. Good scout players are able to kite around enemies really well, avoiding damage so they can live on. Once you get comfortable with the grapple, avoiding enemy damage gets easier and you can pick off enemies from safety. With this additional space you've created, if you're able to revive a fallen teammate, great, but if not, be prepared you may need to finish the mission without them in order to have a successful mission. The team will get significantly more rewards and progress their assignment missions if the mission is a success, instead of you being the last alive, dying, and having the mission fail. When it comes to the scout class, remember that you're the heartbeat for the team, and that sometimes your actions can directly and indirectly lead to success or failure. Sometimes the team is counting on you to do your job and do your job well, so keep in mind that the power you wield to support your team for success. Check out my how to play each role video to better understand how all of the classes come together to make a mission a success, so you have a better idea of how you play a piece in the bigger puzzle. Together, the team is greater than its individual parts. If you want to enjoy your games more, subscribe to the channel for more content, especially for upcoming builds I recommend for the Scout's weapons, and share this video with others so they can enjoy their games. Tap your screen to learn how to play your class's role in Deep Rock Galactic. Thanks for watching.